The orbit of Zephyr Prime glowed like a sapphire suspended in the endless black of space. Ships of all sizes hovered near the planet's docking stations, their metallic hulls gleaming under the distant sun. Among them was a small human vessel, narrow and unassuming, yet carrying a presence that the Council of Nine had not expected. Inside the Council's grand chamber, Lyra, a tall and formidable warrior of the Cyrenian clan, observed the human ship with barely concealed curiosity. She had heard stories of humans, fragile, soft, unarmed, and unfit for war. Compared to her species, humans were weak. Yet, something about the human ship, though small and slow, radiated a quiet determination. "I don't see why they even let him here," a fellow Cyrenian muttered, his voice thick with disdain. "Humans are nothing but fragile shells." Lyra said nothing. She had always judged humans the same way, but there was a part of her that wanted to see for herself. She had seen enough battles to recognize fear, weakness, and strength. Something about this human made her doubt the tales she had been told. When the docking clamps released, a single figure stepped down from the ship. Elias. He was thin, far smaller than any Cyrenian, with soft features that made him look almost harmless. His hair was dark, his eyes bright and clear, and his posture, straight, calm, and confident, spoke of a discipline that belied his fragile appearance. Lyra watched as he walked into the chamber. The alien delegates shifted in their seats, whispering among themselves. Some laughed softly, pointing at him. "Look at him. The council expects us to trust that?" Elias's steps never faltered. He moved slowly, deliberately, and yet there was a presence about him that demanded attention. When he bowed politely before the assembled council, it was not submission, it was respect. And it carried a quiet power that made even the most skeptical pause for a heartbeat. Lyra's eyes narrowed, studying him. She could not explain it, but she felt a strange pull toward this human. She had believed humans were weak, incapable of surviving in the brutal expanse of space. Yet now, standing before her, Elias seemed different. Strong, but in a way she could not yet name. The council chambers were vast, adorned with banners of every species, their colors reflecting the history of countless alliances and battles. The room echoed with the sound of alien voices, some booming, some shrill, all full of judgment. Yet Elias spoke calmly when his turn came. His voice was soft yet firm, carrying conviction. "My people have traveled far," he said. "Not to challenge, not to conquer, but to find peace. We seek understanding, not war, but we will defend ourselves and our allies if necessary." His words were simple, yet they resonated. Lyra felt a shiver run down her spine. There was no arrogance, no empty pride, only a clear, unwavering resolve. She had met countless warriors, strategists, and diplomats, yet none had made her feel this unsettled, this curious. After the formal greetings, the council invited questions. Lyra remained silent at first, watching him interact with other species. He answered each question with clarity, never faltering, never panicking. He spoke with intelligence, wit, and surprising confidence. And though his body seemed small, almost fragile, the way he carried himself suggested a strength deeper than muscle. For the first time, Lyra questioned everything she had believed about humans. Perhaps they were not weak at all. Perhaps strength came in ways her eyes had never seen, in ways her heart had never understood. And as Elias walked past her, giving her a polite nod, she felt something unfamiliar stir within her. Curiosity, respect, and something she could not name yet. This human, fragile as he seemed, carried a quiet force that even a seasoned warrior like her could not ignore. Lyra realized then that the coming days, the council meetings, and whatever challenges awaited them would reveal much more than she expected. This human Elias was not what he seemed, and she, for the first time in her life, was eager to see what he truly was. The Council of Nine had barely settled into discussions when the warning alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the chamber, casting eerie shadows on the faces of alien delegates. A fleet of unknown ships was approaching at impossible speed, weapons charged and shields flaring. Panic rippled through the assembly. Many species, proud and powerful in their own ways, froze or scrambled, unsure of what to do. Lyra's hand went to her blades instinctively, her warrior instincts kicking in. Her heart raced, but she could not see Elias faltering. She had expected him to stumble, to seek protection, or even hide among the delegates, but he remained calm, standing tall as the lights of the approaching fleet reflected in his eyes. "They're coming faster than expected," a Cyrenian commander said, panic in his voice. "Our defenses won't hold." Elias raised a hand, his expression serene. "We have allies nearby," he said. "Coordinate the defensive satellites. Focus fire on the lead vessels. Prepare boarding teams in reserve." His voice was quiet, almost soft, but each command carried authority. Alien delegates blinked, some incredulous. How could such a small, seemingly fragile human issue orders like this without fear? Lyra felt a mixture of surprise and irritation. She wanted to dismiss him, to remind herself that humans were weak. Yet every word he spoke cut through the chaos like a sharp blade. The attack hit moments later. The enemy ships fired with devastating accuracy, tearing into the Council's defensive fleet. Alarms screamed and explosions shook the chamber. Delegates shouted, some rushing to evacuation pods while others froze, paralyzed by fear. Lyra expected Elias to step back, to hide, to falter. But instead he moved forward, calmly scanning the battle through the holographic display before him. "Shield generators on the upper deck," he said, pointing precisely. "Redirect power to weapons. Focus on the central attackers. Boarding teams follow my coordinates exactly." Lyra's mouth fell open. The human was not running. He was controlling the battle. Even from a distance he could see patterns, predict enemy movements, and adapt faster than most alien commanders she had met. He was small, yes, but his mind moved like a storm, and his calm presence seemed to steady those around him. When a blast shook the chamber dangerously close, Lyra flinched. Elias's hand hovered over a console, adjusting defenses with calm precision. Not once did he panic. Not once did he hesitate. His eyes burned with focus, his mind calculating every move. One of the council delegates, a massive reptilian creature with armored scales, snarled. "How can this human survive this chaos?" Lyra swallowed hard. She didn't know. She only knew she was wrong. All her assumptions about humans being fragile, weak, and incapable of handling real danger were falling apart before her eyes. Elias was not just surviving. He was thriving under pressure, leading where others panicked. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. Under Elias's guidance, the council fleet managed to push the attackers back, forcing them to retreat. The chamber was filled with smoke, alarms, and stunned silence. Delegates stared at the human who had orchestrated their defense with calm efficiency. Lyra stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. You weren't afraid?" she asked, barely believing it. Elias shook his head, a faint, tired smile forming. "Fear is natural," he said softly, "but it doesn't have to control you. You survive not by hiding, but by acting, by thinking, by standing for what matters." Lyra felt a strange warmth in her chest. She had believed him fragile, incapable, but now she understood humans were different. Their strength was not in muscle or size, but in courage, in the ability to endure and to act when all hope seemed lost. And for the first time, Lyra looked at Elias not with doubt, but with a spark of respect she could not hide. There was something inside him, something profound, something dangerous in the best way. She had no idea what he truly was, but she was eager to find out. The battle was over. The attackers had fled, but Lyra's world had changed forever. The human beside her, so small and fragile in appearance, had revealed a strength that words could not describe, and she knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. The battle had ended, but the echoes of chaos still lingered in the council chambers. Smoke rose from damaged consoles, and alien delegates murmured anxiously among themselves. Lyra sat silently, her blades resting beside her, her mind restless. She could not stop thinking about the human, Elias. So small, so fragile-looking, yet he had led them through the attack as if he had been born to do it. She watched him from across the room. Elias moved calmly among the delegates, checking on minor injuries, offering quiet words of encouragement and ensuring the fleet was stable. His voice was soft, but there was a strength in it that resonated through the chaos. Lyra felt a strange mixture of admiration and confusion. How could someone so gentle also be so powerful? Finally, after the last delegate had left, she approached him. Her heart beat faster than she wanted to admit. "You handled the battle well," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Better than anyone could have expected." Elias turned to her, his eyes calm and unreadable, yet warm. "Thank you," he replied softly. "I did what had to be done. That's all." Lyra studied him, her mind struggling to reconcile what she saw with what she had always believed. Humans were fragile, weak, easily broken, and yet here was Elias, standing tall after a battle that had terrified seasoned warriors from dozens of species. His body did not tremble. His mind did not falter. His spirit had carried them through when all hope seemed lost. You didn't panic, she said, almost incredulously. I did, he admitted. Inside, fear is natural. But letting it control you is the true weakness. Lyra frowned. She had never heard anyone speak like that. Even the most disciplined warriors admitted fear openly, using it as a measure of humility. Elias, however, spoke of it as something to master, something to turn into strength. She realized she was learning from him without even trying. For hours, they walked through the council decks, inspecting damage and talking quietly. Lyra asked questions about his people, his homeworld, and the human way of thinking. Elias answered with patience, clarity, and surprising insight. Each answer revealed layers of strength, resilience, and compassion that Lyra had never expected from a species she had always considered fragile. At one point, they paused near the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Lyra's hand brushed against his accidentally, and she felt a jolt of awareness she could not explain. Why are humans so different? She asked softly. Why do you seem so strong even when everything around you is falling apart? Elias looked at her with gentle eyes. Strength isn't always about muscle or weapons or shields. Strength is endurance, courage, hope, and love. It's the ability to stand when the world wants you to fall. It's seeing fear and still acting. That is what humans do. Lyra felt a lump in her throat. She had lived her life among warriors and conquerors, yet none had ever spoken with such truth. She realized that she had underestimated not only him but the human race entirely. She had believed her human mate was fragile, and now she understood how wrong she had been. For the first time, Lyra allowed herself to feel admiration, not the polite kind, but deep, genuine respect. And beneath that, something more, a spark of connection she could not ignore. In Elias, she saw more than a warrior. She saw someone who embodied hope, courage, and resilience, someone worth fighting for. The stars outside the observation deck shimmered, reflecting in their eyes. Lyra understood finally that humans were not defined by appearance or size. They were defined by what they chose to endure, what they chose to fight for, and the heart they carried through every trial. She realized she was no longer merely observing Elias. She was learning from him, inspired by him and perhaps unknowingly, drawn to him in ways she had never felt before. And as they stood there in silence looking at the infinite expanse of space, Lyra understood something that would stay with her forever. Strength is not always what you see, and sometimes the most fragile-looking creatures hide the fiercest hearts. Days passed in uneasy calm. The Council repaired the damaged fleets, and life aboard the space station settled into a fragile routine. Lyra stayed close to Elias, observing him as he moved among the delegates, calm and deliberate. Every action he took seemed purposeful yet effortless. She could no longer call him fragile. That word felt almost wrong when applied to him. Then the alarm sounded again. This time it was different, closer, more immediate. Scouts reported a massive fleet of Zyphorian raiders moving toward the station, faster and larger than any enemy they had faced before. Panic gripped the Council. Many species froze or argued over strategy. Lyra could feel the tension in her chest tighten like a vice. She expected Elias to step back, to seek shelter or rely entirely on her species' warriors. But he moved forward, scanning the tactical maps with sharp precision. His fingers traced attack patterns, calculated probabilities, and then issued commands that no one, not even the Council veterans, had considered. Deploy interceptors along the outer rim, he said. Focus concentrated fire on their lead vessels. Prepare boarding teams for rapid counterstrike if any breach the shields. His voice was soft but firm, a calm in the storm of chaos. Lyra could barely believe what she saw. The human, small and delicate in appearance, was taking control of a battle that could destroy the station in moments. Every command was precise, every decision calculated, every outcome anticipated. Even the most skilled alien officers hesitated, unsure if they should follow such an unlikely leader. But Elias's confidence was magnetic. They obeyed. The raiders attacked swiftly. Explosions rocked the decks, alarms screamed, and fires broke out in multiple corridors. Lyra drew her twin blades instinctively, moving to intercept any attackers who breached the outer defenses. She was fast, strong, and lethal, yet she noticed something extraordinary. Elias was everywhere at once. He directed reinforcements, repositioned defenses, and even sent warnings to those in harm's way before the danger arrived. When a group of raiders broke through the station's shield, Lyra expected Elias to take cover, to hide like any fragile human would, but instead he leapt into action, striking with weapons he had barely touched before. He fought with fluidity, precision, and a fearless determination that left even Lyra stunned. Each movement was calculated, each strike decisive. The raiders faltered, unable to predict the humans' rapid responses. Lyra's heart raced as she watched him. Every instinct she had, every lesson from decades of combat screamed that humans were weak. Yet here was Elias defying all of it. She felt a strange awe mingled with disbelief. He was not just surviving, he was thriving, turning a desperate battle into a victory before the raiders even realized it. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, the raiders retreated, their ships battered and broken. Silence fell over the station, broken only by the crackle of alarms and the sighs of exhausted warriors. Lyra's legs trembled as she approached Elias. You were amazing," she whispered, her voice trembling. I thought humans were fragile. But her words faltered. She could not find the right ones to describe what she had witnessed. Elias looked at her, eyes calm yet soft. "I am not invincible," he said. "I am not stronger than anyone in body. But strength is more than muscle. It is heart, will, and purpose. It is acting when fear tells you to stop. That is what humans do, and that is why we endure." Lyra felt something stir deep within her. For the first time she understood that fragility was not about size or appearance. Elias had shown her the truth of humanity, that the spirit, courage, and determination inside could overcome what the eyes perceived as weakness. That night, as she cleaned her blades and reflected on the battle, Lyra could not stop thinking about him. She had always believed her human mate was fragile, yet he had proven her wrong in the most impossible, undeniable way. And in that realization, a spark of something deeper, respect, admiration, and something she dared not name, burned brightly in her heart. Elias was more than a human. He was a force, quiet but unstoppable, and Lyra knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she would follow him, not out of duty, but because she had seen the truth of what he truly was. The battle had left the station scarred and trembling, yet life continued. Repairs were underway, and the Council of Nine gathered once more to discuss the lingering threat of the Zyphorian raiders. Lyra moved through the corridors with quiet thought, her mind still replaying the events of the last fight. Every time she remembered Elias in action, calm, precise, and unshakable, she felt her assumptions crumble. She found him alone in a small observation chamber, the stars reflecting in his deep, unwavering eyes. He seemed almost fragile in that quiet moment, as if the chaos of battle had never touched him. Lyra's heart raced as she approached. She had waited for this, a chance to speak to him, to understand the human she had misjudged for so long. She began, her voice softer than she intended. "You didn't just fight. You saved us all. How?" Elias looked at her gently, a tired but warm smile forming. "I did what I had to do," he said. "I could not let fear control me. I focused on what needed to be done. That is all." Lyra shook her head, frustrated with words. "It's not just that, humans. I thought we understood you, but I see now. I was wrong. You're not fragile. She hesitated, searching for the right word. "You're incredible." Elias studied her silently for a moment, then stepped closer. "Strength comes in many forms," he said softly. "Most species measure it in size, power, or weaponry. Humans, we measure it in endurance, courage, and love. In the choices we make when the odds are against us. That is how I survived and how I fight." Lyra felt a lump in her throat. For decades, she had seen countless warriors fall, seen species crumble in fear or despair. She had believed humans to be delicate, incapable of handling real danger, and yet here he stood, alive and unbroken, not just physically but in spirit. His courage radiated from him like a quiet storm. "I underestimated you," she admitted, her voice almost a whisper. "I thought my human mate was fragile, but I was so wrong." Elias reached out, his hand brushing lightly against hers. "I never wanted you to see us as fragile," he said softly. "I wanted you to see what we truly are. Humans endure. We protect, we love, and we act even when the world tells us we cannot." Lyra's eyes filled with tears, but not of sorrow. They were tears of awe and respect, of something deeper she had not expected. Admiration, trust, and an unspoken connection that bound her to him in ways words could not describe. She realized that she had not only misjudged him but had never truly understood the essence of humanity itself. She stepped closer, letting her hand cover his. "I see it now," she said. "I see what you truly are. Not fragile, not small, you're everything I never knew humans could be." Elias smiled faintly, a quiet warmth in his eyes. "And you believed in me, even when the world doubted. That is why I fight, Lyra. Not for power, not for glory, but for those who see beyond what is obvious. For those who believe." Lyra felt a rush of emotion she could not name. Respect, admiration, love, all blended together into a force stronger than anything she had ever known. For the first time, she realized that Elias had not only revealed his strength, but had also changed her perception of life, of courage, and of the human heart. The stars outside twinkled like silent witnesses to their revelation. Lyra understood that the battles ahead would not only test their strength, but also the bond they had begun to forge, and she knew without doubt that she would stand beside Elias not because she had to, but because she wanted to, because she had finally seen what he truly was. Strength, courage, love, and a human who could endure anything. That was Elias. And Lyra could not imagine a universe without him by her side. The calm after the last attack was brief. Scouts reported that the Zyphorian raiders had returned, this time with an entire fleet aimed directly at the station. Panic spread quickly among the council delegates. The station shook under the weight of fear, and the corridors buzzed with urgent orders. Lyra gripped her blades tightly, her heart pounding, yet her eyes sought Elias. He was already at the command deck, standing before a holographic display of the enemy fleet. Calm, focused, unshakable. Even surrounded by chaos, he moved like a center of gravity, drawing others into his rhythm. Lyra felt a swell of respect, mixed with something warmer, something harder to name. She had seen him in battle before, but this felt different. The stakes were higher and the pressure unbearable. Yet he did not falter. "Focus fire on the vanguard," Elias said, his voice steady, almost soothing. "Divert shields to the outer sectors. Boarding teams prepare for rapid deployment." Lyra followed his orders instinctively, feeling the strange truth she had discovered weeks ago. Humans may seem fragile, but when purpose drives them, their strength is unmatched. The raiders struck with fury, plasma beams slicing through the outer defenses. Lyra fought off boarding parties, blades flashing, but her eyes kept returning to Elias. He was everywhere, directing reinforcements, warning soldiers, repositioning ships, calculating outcomes that no alien commander could even imagine. His presence was a force that turned chaos into strategy. Suddenly, a massive Zyphorian dreadnought broke through the outer defenses, moving directly toward the command center. It was a ship meant to crush everything in its path. Lyra froze, expecting Elias to retreat, but he didn't. "I'll handle this," he said calmly, almost casually. Then, without waiting for anyone's permission, he activated a small shuttle and launched toward the dreadnought. Lyra's eyes widened. "Alone?" "You can't," she began, but he was already gone. Minutes later, the station shook violently as the dreadnought's weapons fired. Lyra watched the displays, her chest tight with fear. But then she saw it. The dreadnought's engines faltered, its shields flickered, and its weapons went silent. Elias had boarded the enemy ship, moving with precision, disabling systems, outsmarting a vessel far larger and more powerful than anything she had imagined. When he returned, sweat and grime covering him, he smiled faintly. "It's done," he said simply. No fanfare, no boast. Just quiet strength. Lyra felt tears prick her eyes. She ran to him, nearly colliding with his small, exhausted frame. You did it," she whispered, disbelief and awe mixing in her voice. "I thought humans were fragile. But you—" He shook his head gently. "Fragile is only what others see. We endure, we fight. We survive, and we protect those we care about no matter the cost." Lyra felt her heart swell with emotions she had never allowed herself to feel. Fear, respect, admiration, and a deep, unspoken love. She had believed her human mate was fragile, yet he had shown her the impossible, the unimaginable, and had done so with a calm she could not comprehend. Around them, the station's survivors cheered, their voices echoing through the corridors. But Lyra felt the moment differently. It was personal, intimate, a bond forged in fire and tested by courage. She knew now without any doubt that Elias's strength was not in his body but in his spirit. The stars outside seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging the truth. Humans could endure anything, achieve the impossible, and inspire loyalty, courage, and love in those around them. Lyra looked at Elias, her eyes full of wonder. She had learned something that could not be taught. Strength was not measured in size or weaponry, but in heart, and she knew, deep in her bones, that she had finally seen what her human mate truly was. For the first time, she did not feel fear. She felt hope, pride, and a fierce determination to stand beside him no matter what the universe threw at them next. The battle was over. The Xiphorian fleet had retreated, leaving the station battered but alive. Silence filled the corridors, broken only by the hum of repairs and the faint chatter of exhausted crews. Lyra walked slowly through the observation deck, her mind still replaying every moment of the last fight. She had seen courage, skill, and intelligence in many species, but nothing had prepared her for the truth about humans. Elias stood near the viewport, staring out at the stars, his posture calm yet strong. Lyra approached quietly, feeling her heart pound. Words failed her at first. How could she convey the awe, the respect, and the deep, unspoken feelings she had for him? He had shattered every expectation she had ever held. "You," she began, her voice soft, almost trembling. "You were incredible. I thought humans were fragile. But you—" She stopped, unable to find words that could match what she felt. Elias turned to her, his eyes gentle but clear. "Fragile?" he asked softly. "I am not. Not in body, not in heart. Strength comes from purpose, courage, and love. I fight for what matters, and I endure what must be endured. That is human strength. That is what I am." Lyra's chest tightened. Tears threatened her eyes, not from fear but from realization. She had underestimated him. She had misjudged him. She had believed her human mate was fragile. But now she knew the truth. Elias was a force beyond measure, quiet yet unstoppable, small in appearance but immense in spirit. She stepped closer, letting her hand rest on his. "I see it now," she said, her voice low and filled with emotion. "I see what you truly are. Not fragile, not weak. You are—" Her words faltered as she searched for the right ones. "Everything I never expected. Everything I never imagined humans could be." Elias smiled faintly, reaching out to touch her cheek with gentle warmth. "And you," he said softly, "have seen beyond appearances. You have believed in me when others doubted. That is why I fight, not for glory, not for strength, but for those who see the heart beneath what is visible. For those who trust. For you." Lyra felt something stir deep inside her. Respect, admiration, and something stronger. Love, fierce and undeniable, flooded her being. She realized that what she had thought of as fragility was, in fact, the very essence of humanity. Endurance, courage, resilience, and an unshakable will to protect those they cared about. For a long moment, they stood together, hands entwined, eyes locked, the stars outside silent witnesses to their connection. Lyra finally allowed herself to surrender to the truth she had fought against for so long. She loved him, not in spite of his humanity, but because of it. Because of the strength that lay hidden behind his calm eyes, behind his small frame, behind every act of courage he had shown. "You've changed everything," she whispered, "not just for me, but for everyone who believed humans were fragile. You've shown them what we truly are." Elias's smile widened, soft but confident. "Humans endure. We act when others would falter. And sometimes we reveal our true selves only when it matters most." Lyra nodded, her heart full. "I understand now. I see it all. And I am proud. Proud to stand beside you." The stars stretched endlessly before them, a galaxy full of challenges, dangers, and unknowns. But Lyra no longer felt fear. She felt hope, courage, and a fierce determination to face anything with Elias by her side. He had revealed the truth of humanity, quiet, enduring, unstoppable. And she knew in her heart that nothing in the universe could ever break them. For the first time, she truly believed in him. And in believing, she discovered something even greater. She had found a mate, a partner, a human whose strength was more powerful than any weapon, more enduring than any fleet, and more unshakable than the stars themselves. Lyra smiled, pressing close to him. "You are everything I never expected," she whispered. Elias smiled back, calm, warm, and unyielding. And you, he said softly, believed in me when it mattered most. That is why I endure. That is why I fight. That is why I am human. And together they watched the stars, ready for whatever the universe would throw at them next.